Welcome back to the lab, folks. So today we've got a testing AliExpress electronics video, and we're going to check out, so I got this crimper and these Cat6 plugs, and these are the pass-through type. So this crimper works with the pass-through type by doing the automatic trimming. So I'm going to test them out because I have a recabling project from my closet, and so we're going to check out that process there. I also got this battery holder here which holds two 18650 batteries in parallel, and it gives you external access to the batteries. But the problem is all these tiny little tabs here, which are bent down towards the plastic, is the only way to get to the terminals. So I'm going to try and see if I can figure out a way. Then my idea is to bend up these tabs, actually remove the terminals, and then drill little holes in these slots, maybe one here and one here, so that I can put a wire in and solder directly to the bottom of the terminal down there. And hopefully that'll give us a way to get some wires coming out of it. I want to test out this Handtech current probe. The main reason I got it was to measure the power output of amplifiers. So that's actually how we're going to test it. And this solder stand here, this is one of those ST90 solder stands. And the reason I got this was to see if it'll work with my Hakko desoldering gun. These bottles here, I got 5 of them. But I'm going to do up 3 of them. I want to show you what I'm thinking, and I'll explain what I did before and see if this new method is better. Well, let's get started on all that. But let's move some of this stuff out here out of the way, and then I'm going to set up the amplifier that I want to test here, and we'll test this first. Okay, so this here is the amplifier. It's this little Sansui integrated stereo amplifier. It's not a great amplifier. I got it for nothing. And there were some issues with it, and I fixed it. I put a different type of connector on the back and removed some of the failed switches, like these switches here had failed. So I just removed them out of the circuit so that I can just get a plain ordinary old amplifier with a few less features. And it does seem to work, but I wanted to test to see. It's supposed to be nominally around about 40 watts per channel. So I just wanted to check that by means of checking this out at the same time. I've got this over here. I've got a 10 ohm load here. So for any given volt going out to that resistor, I should see 1/10 of an amp coming out of this. So we'll switch that on, and we'll get an oscilloscope up here, and I'll put this around the wire coming out here, the red wire. All right, let's get the scope up. I'm going to feed it a signal, 500 millivolts RMS at 1 kilohertz. It's supposed to go up to 20 kilohertz, so I want to check that too. But the amplifier might affect the accuracy there. It may roll off up around there. So let's get that signal going in, and then we'll turn on the amplifier. Let's turn on measurements. If you see here, we've got 11.27 and 113, so they're pretty close. I don't think I have anything to worry about as far as the accuracy is concerned. Let's try bringing the frequency up. 13 and 130, that's good. Now we're at 3 kilohertz. Let's go up to 10 kilohertz. Then we got 192 to 20. That's pretty good. It looks like the amplifier is peaking a little. Here's 20 kilohertz. The amplifier is peaked up to 28. Probe is only picking up 22, so it is beginning to roll off a little bit there. Yeah, so there's a little bit of a difference there, and we got a little bit of a phase lag. I'm not going to worry about that right now. We're back down to 1 kilohertz. Now what I want to do is I want to enable the power analysis mode here. Okay, so here we have the power analysis set up. There's our function here, which is C1 times C2. And it calculates the power factor, the real power, apparent power, reactive power, and the phase angle. So we've got a pretty good power factor here of 99.6, and currently we're getting about 4 watts through it. Let's bring this power up here. Okay, we're up to 30 watts. So let's see, just get clipping here. It's just starting to clip, and we're at 38 watts. So yeah, the power output is verified. It is nominally around 40 watts output on this thing. So well, that's it. That clamp seems to work very well. It's going to do the job for me. it's so nice that I can use it with this power analysis tool. It gives me all the information I need right there. And for the price, I think it was a good addition to my lab. Let's get on to the next thing. So let me move all the stuff out of the way and we'll come back. Okay, so next here we're going to do off one of these cables using this. Now this I've measured out. This is going to go from one of my NAS boxes to the switch. And that's all I really need. Right now in there's got to be like a 6-foot cable. And you know, there's a lot of cables in there. They're all way too long. And so that's what I'm going to do. This is a project that I got this for, is to clean up that wiring mess in there and get rid of the rat's nest. So here we go. Get this tool out, unlock it. There we go. Now it's got a stripper in here, so we'll strip off this. I guess I have to use it upside down like this. Put the cable in there. So we want about, I'd say about an inch or more there to. So we're testing the stripper. Stripper works perfectly. Now let's just check the order in here. So it's the standard order. You've got the orange pair first, and the split green pair, then the blue pair, then the solid green of the split green pair, and then the brown pair with the we're going from striped, solid, striped, solid, striped, solid. So let's set this up that way. Get one of these ready. I might speed through this next little bit because it could take me an awful long time to get these wires all lined up and get them straightened. I don't know if you have similar problems, but I certainly do have a hard time with it. What they should do is make a tool that you can, you know, somehow straighten out all these nice wires for you. That would be handy. I would buy that. Okay, now to get that right, striped orange, solid orange, striped greens, solid blue, striped blue, solid greens, striped brown, solid brown. Okay, that looks right. Now get it pushed in as far as I can. Get these straightened out here. And then let's see if we can get them through here without anything getting bunched up. Okay, they all look like they've come through without anything getting bunched. If you get something bunched up or a wire bent down or around, it's not going to sit forward enough, so it's not going to cut properly and it won't set the contacts properly. So it looks like we're ready to go here. Let's give this a good squeeze. All right, that was rather painless. And now we've got this little Uni-T tester here. Basically, we should just, I'm just going to scan through the lines, and we should, when a 1 comes on here, it should come on here, and that will verify that our cable is working. So let's turn it on to scan. Good. Perfect. Okay. That was rather painless, except for my sorting out the wires. When I used to do this sort of thing semi-professionally, I got a lot better at sorting those wires out, but this tool is going to be coming very handy when I get into that project. I have more of these. This is my last boot, so I have more of these coming, and then I can do that project at that point in time. So yes, it works. It's relatively inexpensive. It's a handy tool. It does everything for you, stripping and crimping and cutting, and it makes the job a lot easier. Okay, next I'm going to do up these bottles here. I'll actually just do up one of them. I don't need to do up all of them, but I'm going to do one for deoxit, one for WD-40, one for IPA. And the bottles I used to use, like these ones here. So here are the bottles I used before. Now they don't have the little caps on them, so they do tend to evaporate over time, and also it prevents me from really filling them up because I can only fill them up halfway. If not, what'll happen is they'll drop over like this and they'll start leaking out. So that's another disadvantage of them. And I want to try a new way of labeling them. So what I would do before, I didn't do it with the IPA one here. So I would just put an indelible marker on it, and then like on this one, I put a piece of clear tape over it. So for these ones here, I see I got some, that's IPA right there. So for these ones here, I'm going to put a Dymo label on, and then put the tape over that. So let's do deoxit here. Yeah, there's a much nicer label there to read. And the reason I put the tape over it is that some of these materials will just, that indelible marker, that Sharpie marker is just nothing to them. They'll take that right off. Yeah, good enough for Canada, as they say. And then get a good length of this. Go over it. So that's perfectly legible and protected from the deoxit inside. So that's it. I'm going to fill up that with deoxit and get these set up for WD-40 and IPA. And yeah, now I can, I can feel free to fill them up, so I don't have to fill them as often. And put a cap on them. They won't evaporate. They won't spill. Much better idea altogether. Okay, let's look at this soldering stand. Now this is normally just a soldering stand for a soldering iron. It does fit those Fernisi irons, which I have. It fits them very well. Here's an HS2, goes into just beautifully. The HS1 is even better. But I wanted it for this thing here. And so I'm just going to raise it up as high as I can. Now this is heavy, so I'm going to have to clamp this down very tight. Okay. It comes with a sponge, a little metal tray which can be removed for cleaning. And this here, you can put in spare bits into it. So that's what I thought about that, so I can have them sitting there ready to go, because they do come in different sizes, different profiles and stuff like that for different kinds of desoldering jobs. So now the question is it tough enough to hold the weight of this thing? Because it's pretty heavy compared to a soldering iron. And it is. It fits very, very, very well. Okay, well there's a solution. If you're looking for a stand for your Heiko, this is it. This is inexpensive. I think they're about 20 bucks. And I'll include links down below to get them on AliExpress. As you know, I'm an addict to AliExpress electronics. I think this is going to work out beautifully. Yes, this is perfect. Okay, we've got the battery box. Now, my plan here is to take these terminals out, drill holes big enough to get these wires through in these areas here. Maybe we'll put, this will be positive, we'll put the red over here and the black kitty corner to it over here. And solder those wires directly to the terminals themselves. And hopefully that'll give us a way, because I'm a little bit leery about, bending these up, maybe soldering onto them, trying to bend them down, because it's just going to melt the plastic. Let me see if I can bend those tabs up without breaking them. Okay, get the screwdriver underneath. They seem pretty malleable. I think they'll withstand at least a couple of bends. If not, I think those terminals will stay down in there pretty well all by themselves. So let's see if we can use those tabs. Straighten those tabs out a little bit. And kind of push down to see if we can get those terminals moving. Yeah, they certainly, that one plopped right out. And this one came out too. Okay, now I've got to drill a little hole. Maybe I have something I can do that on camera. Now, this might do the job for me. Yeah, that would be perfect. So we're going to, let's say we'll have the red up this end. So we'll do that on this side. Okay, Now, this little thing here is a double-ended pin vise. I use this with those two drill bits to work on Vero boards. Maybe I should demonstrate that at some point. I don't do it a lot anymore. Getting PCB boards made quickly and cost effectively is a thing these days. So I don't really use this much anymore. But it's a great tool to have if you're working on Vero boards. You know, those strip boards. Great. Okay, let me solder some wires up to these, and we'll come back and see what that looks like when I have them slid in there. Okay. Okay, so that's what I did. Easy to solder to. I just put a little bit of flux on there, and the solder spread out very quickly. And those HSO2 irons had no problem with the thermal mass here. So let's. I'm going to put this one in up this way. See if I can feed the wire through there. There we go. Okay, that's that one done. And then the negative terminal over here. All right, yeah. Okay, that's perfect. There we go. So now we got wires on the battery box. I don't know if these ones are going to be long enough for the first project. We'll see. I can always just put longer ones on or attach wires to them. But I thought for a test this would be okay. And there we go. All right, so I think that's it. That's everything I wanted to do today, isn't it? All right, folks. I hope you got something out of this. I hope it helps you with some of your projects. I know it's moved me ahead a little bit on some of them. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.